back to Good Morning Dublin with Mick and Miriam, or is it Miriam and Mick? Who knows? It's
woman first, huh?
This is the program that brings you equality, and that's why our next item is about equality in an area that's probably about as unequal as they can get, and that's sport. And that's why our two guests in the studio coming to us from RILSA, which is the Republic of Ireland Ladies Snooker Association, Dan Carroll, who is and the fabulous Annette Newman. Good morning,
Good
to
morning,
both of
Mick.
you.
Good morning,
Mick and Miriam.
Dan, we've spoken offline about some of all of this, but before we get into talking about the issue of sports equality and how women's sport is basically the poor relation, can you just tell us a little bit about RILSA and why it's not a packet of cigarette papers?
It's RILSA.
RILSA.
That's why it's not RILSA.
Well, the Republic of Ireland Ladies Snooker Association go back many years. We go back in as far as 1954.
Whew.
A little bit of history on it with Paddy Comerford. He was a great man who supported women's snooker back then. And then we travelled through the 60s and 70s where we have like Des Campbell of Abbey Billiards fame in Mary Street here in Dublin and on the North Strand, which is not too far from you.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had Dermot Dalton, Finbar Owan, who were great supporters, who were also on the national governing body area for many years. And in 1982, the Ladies Leinster Billiards and Snooker Association was formed in the Piero Club on Bachelor's Walk, which is now the Arlington Hotel.
Okay.
Yes.
And at that time then snooker was really booming in Ireland, but women's snooker itself was kept to a small amount of members at that particular time because it was really male dominant.
Because you couldn't play it in the kitchen.
Yeah, well, in a lot of the clubs, a lot of the clubs in that, if women went in with their, and had a few games, and they would take them actually off the table to put men on the tables. In a lot of the clubs them days, yeah. And it wasn't not too long ago that women weren't allowed into certain clubs in the country here, so we're still a little bit in the dark ages with that.
That's like when women used to be able, you couldn't buy a woman a pint.
That's right, I remember that, they weren't allowed into bars and certain things like that.
Yeah.
But,
you wouldn't remember this.
No, I wouldn't remember any of that, thank God.
But in 1986 anyway, the Republic of Ireland Ladies Snooker Association was formed, again at the Piero Club. And since then we have moved on in the game. It went into decline for a short period of time, but the last 6-7 years we've been very busy with ladies snooker and in general with the schools initiatives that we've put in place.
Yeah.
We now have 300 schools, 100 youth reach centres. There's tables going into schools and youth reach centres all over this country at the moment. It's the fastest growing sport for women and young girls in the country within the school system. Mm. So we're trying our best here to promote it, giving it every chance we can, and the school teachers, principals and everyone are coming on board with this, but it's still male dominant within the club scene here, and we're finding a lot of difficulties in regards to promoting the game. We've been knocked back on numerous occasions in regards to...
Without mentioning names, would you like to point us in the direction of where these Neanderthal or shall we say, outdated males are?
Well, they're currently on the national governing body, which is
Sports Council?
No, national governing body, which is known as RIBSA, which is the Republic of Ireland Billiards Snooker Association. And unfortunately, we've come against a lot of negative responses from them in the past. We now have the largest ladies association in the world here in Ireland.
Wow.
You're joking.
We have 447 members to date,
so
and it's growing fast.
Excellent.
It's not a lack of interest then, and and from what I've seen, it's not a lack of talent.
And there's quite, there's good players there, and there's young girls learning, and some good talent shown there, But
are you a snooker player yourself, Miriam?
Unfortunately, I'm not, because do
It's
you know
been
why
pool.
though? Really, pool and snooker is because. It's like that again. It's the bar situation where the guys go play in the bar. You'd never get a look in at a table. That it's intimidation.
you have to
really.
put your 20p down on the pool table.
Yeah,
and winner hole.
but it is a bit of intimidation even from.
So what's your background in snooker, Annette? Are you what we would call a long-standing player? And I don't
You mean am I old? I'm playing since the late 70s, Mick. Yeah. I've been playing a long time and love the game and still love the game and want to teach young girls how to play the game. That's what we're currently doing with the schools. And to come up against a barrier like our own national governing body is sickening to me, because we, for all the years I've been playing, we've been allowed and we've travelled under our own steam over to England in particular for the World Championships and for ranking tournaments.
Okay, let's just come back to that, because so we understand it clearly. Are you saying that despite your ability, despite your standing in the game, an alternative body is preventing you from taking part in a tournament abroad?
Well, the way they put it is they're actually blackmailing us now, because we don't want to join an organisation that has done nothing for us in the past, and they're ridiculing us now big time, and we don't want to join up with those. But they've said unless we join RIBSA, we cannot play in any of the World Championships or UK or Europe.
How does that strike you, Miriam?
Yeah, very unfair. I mean, I've seen some great talent myself from Irish girls in so many sports. And as a young woman, I'm disappointed to hear that. You know that.
Yeah.
Is that not a restraint of trade, Dan? You know, one of the things we're hearing all about Brexit is free movement of labour now. Okay, I know it's a sport, but technically it's you are a worker in that sense of the word. Can you not go to the EU about it, or?
No, we're there's a process in place at the moment. We're looking for to try and get national governing body status for women in Q sports here in Ireland, and the applications with the Sports Council. And there's a review taking place at the moment also, just to look into billiards and snooker within Ireland. You know, this country has thousands of people playing snooker.
Indeed.
Literally thousands. You take the likes of, for instance, take the County Laois, for instance. You have Rathdowney, Port Arlington, Mount Mellick, you know, Errol. They're all small little communities, but they would have 30, 40 young players playing in their clubs, which have only 1 and 2 tables. You know, whereas everybody should be included. Now, we've also included our juniors from the schools. We just recently had our primary school championship. Great success.
Very good.
Yeah,
We have a ladies ranking tournament this weekend in Newbridge, and actually we have our first ever ladies academy set up in Newbridge, which is there specifically for women to go in and practice, which is there's not anyone like it in the world. You know, and again, we're being blocked by individuals here from actually taking part in international events.
Yeah. And then, is this sport being handicapped by what we would call identity now? If you go back 10 years, women's boxing was out there, but nobody paid an awful lot of attention to women's boxing. Along comes Katie Taylor.
Yeah.
Women's boxing is on the 6 o'clock news. Is that perhaps...
There's really not enough promotion or enough advertisement, and the fact that the women's snooker, even in the professional scene, is never televised, that's a big thing.
Yeah, that's...
We were playing last in Leeds in April in the World Championships, and we were outside talking to a few lads, English lads, and they didn't know who Rianne Evan was, and she's the 11 times world champion English girl. They didn't know who she was. And these guys play snooker in the same snooker club that she practices in. Yeah. So, you know, there's really little interest, I suppose. Yeah.
Or maybe not even lack of interest, but lack of knowledge of the subject, I think, yeah.
So, again, and you've heard me talk about this, Dan, I think the media have a crucial role to play in it. And I'm sure if we go through the newspapers here, virtually all the sports writers, or at least a very high percentage of them, are going to be male. Now, I've been very impressed with what Lidl have been doing with women's football, you know, GAA and hurling. Does it need something like that? Does it need a corporation to come in and say, we're going to put money on it, and then once you get an attractive product, the TV stations will pick it up? Is that the... Certainly,
we definitely need some big sponsor to come on board, because the amount of people we have now within the school system, and the future is there, you know. Yeah. Certainly, we have loads of kids playing snooker in schools. So we could do something similar on that respect with the likes of some corporate company who wants to get involved with us. We're open to any sort of sponsorship. You know, everything we do is based backpacking. It's, you know, small towns. We raise our own funds for the last 30 odd years. So we haven't been given funding. Our funding when I was on the council years ago was 96,000 we used to get. We got £200 of that.
The ladies got £200.
The ladies got £200. So that hasn't really changed. And anything that's been done now by them is purely because of our success to date. You know, so we're concentrating on our success and trying to keep it building and keep it going. This week, Ballyshannon Youth Reach is getting a full-size table. Sligo Youth Reach got a full-size last week.
Who's paying for all these tables?
These tables are all donated to us.
Yeah.
We have a table fitter who will put a table in for the price of a table iron into a school,
Very good.
which is fantastic.
You're allowed to give somebody a mention. Go ahead.
Well,
If
it's
he's doing a good
Shane
thing.
Petrassi has been involved in the sport for over 30 years, and he's doing fantastic work for our schools and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I really appreciate what Shane is doing.
But, Annette, I'm going to come to you. I mean, do you think we're ready for women's snooker on Irish telly? I mean, it's not that long ago that we used to ban Playboy. Do you think the idea of women stretching over tables
Too sexy for RT.
is just too much
Especially
for an
since
Irish-
we wear waistcoats, is that it? It won't be on Playboy anyway. Yeah, well, I mean, there
Because
is.
somehow or other we don't seem to have that problem with big fat male snooker players. You think
Well,
you could play tennis there.
There was comments made about the ladies. I mean, I think in general the women are afraid to be put out there on the spot, because of intimidating remarks made about them and in front of them and to them and about their physique and bending over the table and different things. But we don't see any of that. We
I
just
think
see
You're
No, don't
professional,
we just like to play the game, and I've listened to that for years. It doesn't bother me anymore. I
course.
just play, because I love the game. But I suppose if there's
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do people not get thrown out for that? Because if somebody turned around and there was a black player and they called him something rude, you'd expect them to be.
Can I just mention another
reason?
reason why I don't think we should ever join an association that does pass remarks on women, and two officials, I'm not mentioning names.
We can't mention.
Oh, I know, I
names,
wouldn't dream of it,
yeah.
but
Mr. A,
they
Mr.
actually,
B.
Mr. A said to Mr. B, look at the size of that one. I'd say she's a lesbian as well. So it's with remarks like that, I'm
that's-
afraid, why,
Yeah.
you don't join up with people that say things
Well,
like that, I know that's one or two individuals, but
Yeah, I got to throw you the political question then, Dan. I mean, if somebody, I appreciate you take a certain stance on it, but if somebody said that in the, and I was a member of an organisation, you would either expect to get them sanctioned, because the organisation that we're talking about, we know certain people who are, dare I say it, ladies who wear sensible shoes. They wouldn't be impressed with that. Surely there should be people saying, well, hold on, these are not people who should be administrating anything.
it's true. Yeah. I suppose not enough people are making complaints.
See, this
about
is it.
them,
Like, if you don't have the backing there, if you're one or two individuals on a committee and you don't have the backing from everybody else, you get nowhere.
Yeah.
I got nowhere for 9 years when I was on that committee. I fought tooth and nail for women's snooker,
Yeah.
and we were never on the agenda. Anytime we got it on the agenda, we were last on it. I would deal with it with AOB. You could spend 7-8 hours at a meeting and you get nothing from it.
That's
The main context was male orientated. Now, don't get me wrong when I say talking about male. We're very supportive with Stars Academy Ireland, who links in with the Ladies Association.
Yes.
We have 225 young boys on our ranking list.
And you want them
And
to
we
grow
want them
up.
to grow. And they're going to
with-
benefit from the tables in the schools as well.
Yeah.
And we are the largest association who feed into RIBSA, our national
Yes.
governing body. 70% of the players on the ranking list have come through our association, to the boys. So even our national secretary, Tina Keogh, her son goes to RIBSA events. Valerie Maloney, her son goes to RIBSA events. We don't stop anybody playing snooker. We want everybody to play snooker.
Yeah.
We have our special needs championship next week. It's going to be a fantastic event in Newbridge.
Brilliant.
We've probably about 40 entries for that. It's unprecedented the numbers that we are getting, and the response we're getting from the schools. So we have a really good program in place and plan for ladies snooker and for girls in particular for over the next number of years.
Something that's striking me, Annette, is that what their justification is probably going to be, we're not discriminating against you on the basis of gender, we're discriminating against you on the basis of some sort of accreditation. Now, have you not considered going to the Equality Authority on that? Because in essence there is a gender dimension here.
Well, you see, they have lady members. They have a
Oh,
section
yes.
of
Oh, so
lady
there is a
players. They
section,
have
okay.
a very small section, and they're quite happy to hold their number 1 and 2 status. They don't actually try and encourage young players in. you know, they've probably 5 or 6 girls there that play regularly within their, you know, organisation. But all our members, I mean, we wouldn't stop our members playing, but it's the way we're being blackmailed. You know, either you join up and then they're charging a fee. We don't charge our schoolgirls a fee to join our association, but RIBSA would require £15 or €15, you know. Well, that's just one part of it. You know?
I'm just wondering, could you not have a test case where somebody applies to play, say, in the British Open or the European Open, if your entry is knocked back because they say...
We already had that happen to us.
Then why don't you go...
4 of us were stopped travelling because we had flights, we had our accommodation booked, we had paid into the tournament, and they wrote back to say that, well, where's your number for your national governing body? So Dan wrote our RILSA number, and they came back with saying, well, sorry, but that's not your national governing body, so you are not allowed to play unless you become a member of RIBSA. Well, we said, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. That's blackmail, you know.
You do need to go to politics over this one, I'm afraid.
Whatever route is necessary, we'll take to get status.
This has never happened before. In '93, 18 girls travelled from RILSA over to the World Championships, and we had a fantastic time. And we like all the girls over there, we get on with them. This is something to do with an amalgamation of the World Ladies Snooker and the World Men's Billiards Snooker Association.
Well, at the end of the day, sports should be inclusive, and especially when there's a high level of talent there, and I can't understand the need to segregate people.
Yeah.
No.
Darren, you said there's a review of this whole situation taking place at the moment. What's the status of that, and when can we expect
the review body that's set up through the Sports Council will submit their findings in December, and probably sometime early next year we'll have some sort of a response back from the Sports Council.
Okay.
And we're hoping that it'll be very positive. You know, for me to say, we're dealing with over 100,000 children in the school system. It cannot be ignored anymore. We're just sick and tired of all these innuendos and we want this to move forward.
We need them to be devil's advocate. They say we're going to recognise you guys. We're going to say you could be on the Sports Council, you could be an accreditation authority. Did the other lot then not have a comeback of saying, well, you won't accept women, you won't accept men?
No, but if you look at it in the wider context, like we don't discriminate against men whatsoever.
You have young boys actually coming up in
our Stars Academy.
We run both the same for the special needs men and women.
Yeah.
You know, so we've never discriminated. We actually support all their players. Anytime their guys go away to represent Ireland in Europe or at the IBSF World Championships, we support all them lads. We do following them.
I'm not disputing that, Dan, but what I'm saying is that theirs doesn't have a gender in the title, yours does.
Yes, but it's like all women's sports. We've come across these difficulties over the years, and we're specific to ourselves in the right to have our own association and the right to self-governance and the right to our own identity. You know, where women before, when they represented their country, they were handed a waistcoat. It was a man's waistcoat.
Yeah.
You know, there were stuff like that. But, you know, we have to draw the line somewhere in order to move forward. I mean, we're still very supportive of everybody who picks up a cue and plays a game of snooker. Okay. But for someone to turn around and say you cannot play a game of snooker, then that's against all the ethos of promotion.
There's nothing worse, Dan, and I've known this myself, where you turn up in a snooker hall and you think, I'll have a game here, and all the people are so much better. You know, it's like going to a gym and everybody's so much, what's the easy way of just, and perhaps where can people do this in Dublin?
Well, we have many clubs around in the Dublin area that people can go into. Okay. Like you have the Joey's out in Harmiston, a fantastic club.
Fabulous club.
And we've had 2 fantastic international events out there the last couple of years. Yeah. And a lot of other tournaments being played out there, like the Battle of Clontarf is a new one now that we set up a few years ago.
Are women generally welcome in these?
Of course, yeah. There's most clubs now. Like, we haven't come across any clubs that are at the moment, except there was a ban last year put on RILSA playing in member clubs. Of their member clubs, which ridiculous carry on, like it's childish stuff.
But you know, our tournament.
But, you know, we have the likes of Crossguns there, and we have the Classic in Finglas and Fairview Snooker Hall. Yeah. Huge clubs all around the country, and they're not members of the national governing body because they've lost faith in them over the number of years. So it's unfortunate that snooker has taken a little bit of a hit in areas, but in our area it's growing, and we want to work with everybody.
Yes.
We don't want to work against RIBSA.
Yeah.
You know, that's not what our ethos is.
Sure.
We want to work with everybody in the sport, but to recognise us as an NGB would be fantastic, and it would really bounce us into the future. You know, we have a 10-year plan in place, and for any snooker player to take off, it takes an average between 8 to 10 years to get to certain standards, you know.
Do you have any tournaments coming up, Dan, that we could send Miriam down to with her trusty microphone? Meet the players
well, this Saturday morning at 11:15 in
What
Sharks.
date is that?
Saturday 22nd.
Yes.
At 11:15 a.m.
And
check in. It's in Sharks Snooker Club Newbridge, which are fantastic supporters, and we have our academy down there as well. And then next week, we have the Special Needs National Championships again in Sharks. And we have another ranking event then in November 26th, and that's in Joey's here in Dublin.
So it's all action.
So it's all action. And we also have the Billiards coming up as well next week, and we have a Billiards ranking, then we have the Billiards National Championship. And by the way, Ladies Billiards has only begun last year for the first time, and Annette is our current Billiards champion. And so to promote other Q sports as
and
well.
I just say, Mick, if any girls want to come along, we are all the experienced girls teach all the beginners and have great time, and there's great camaraderie there, and there's a good crack that day.
And how would they get in contact with someone to try and get involved in it?
They can contact me direct on my phone number. It's 085 7373 305, or they can go on email by dancarroll147@gmail.com.
And if they want to check out our websites, it's rilsa.ie, and then the other one is 147starsacademy.com.
And if any mothers out there think it's a wasted youth, just remind them it's injury free compared to football.
Injury free,
A lot of the mothers, Mick,
I'm sure mothers would be happy to be.
Sorry, we've had a lot of mothers actually took up the game because they brought their children along, and they've taken it
They've
up
seen
now,
it
so,
how good it is themselves.
And let's be honest, Ronnie O'Sullivan's made a few bob out of it.
Oh yeah.
Guys,
Thanks
it's been a
very
pleasure
much.
talking to
Thank
you.
you,
And
guys.
as I say,
Thanks very much.
147. You're going to play us out then, Miriam.
We're going to play some music now coming up.
No, Sig Tune. Sig Tune coming
Tune.
up. Okay. Okay, well, that's it for this inaugural edition of Good Morning Thursday on...
Gonna get up, gonna get up, gonna get up. Gonna get up,